Welcome to another edition of the OC Show. I'm your host, Donnie Henderson. Got a really good show for you today. Very near and dear to my heart. You'll see why here very soon. But OC Show, please like and subscribe to my channel. Like and subscribe to my channel. I got some other things planned here that are going to be great here in the future. I appreciate everyone who has subscribed, have liked my channel, made comments. I appreciate each and every one of you, the positive feedback, the ideas, and just the all around encouragement that I've got from a lot of you. It really means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. This edition of the OC Show is brought to you by East Coast Water Quality. East Coast Water Quality here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. If you need anything regarding water filtration or what we can do for you is a free water test. If anyone local to the Hampton Roads, Virginia area needs a free water test or is very curious about their water quality, please give us a call at 757-966-7600. Again, East Coast Water Quality is the sponsor for today's show. 757-966-7600. If you would like a free water test in your home, give us a call. We'll get you all set up. Today's show, again, like I said, near and dear to my heart because we just had the NFL draft, and the NFL draft was in my hometown of Detroit, Michigan. Now, why is this important? Why is this a big deal? Well, because I'm a Detroit sports fan. I'm a Detroiter, and as a 46-year-old man, I'm now very proud to say that I am from Detroit. That hadn't always been the case. Again, I'm 46 years old, and the one thing that has changed is because there's one thing that has changed and then one thing that hasn't changed. I'm going to go with the thing that has changed. The appearance of Detroit now is so much different than when I was a kid or even a teenager. Going downtown is a totally different experience than what I remembered as a kid. Going downtown was just pretty much you go down to Tiger Stadium, and it's a kind of a area. It's not as bad as people think because when people hear Detroit in the media, and I learned this a lot when I went to college. I again grew up in the Metro Detroit area, but when I went off to college, I went to college in Florida. People view Detroit as a rundown, underdeveloped war zone for a lot of, the media has just given Detroit the worst picture and the worst eye. But, back then, 30 years ago, that wasn't true. I mean, there's parts of every city. And I'm traveling around. I've had the privilege to travel to several different cities, and Detroit's not that much different than anywhere else. You have your great parts and you have your bad parts. Now, back to what's changed. There weren't as many good parts to Detroit when I was a kid and growing up as a teenager. Now, downtown Detroit is a fabulous place. Just going back to visit, even before moving, you had Ford Field and Comerica Park and that little area, that little pocket, right up, from the Fox Theater and the casinos and everything. Great area, but it seemed to have expanded out to Woodward and other different areas with the LCA. Just a great area, and I'm not even mentioning all the parts. I'm just mentioning the parts that I'm the most familiar with. But Detroit has changed so much for the good and for the positive. It's great because again, you go to these other cities, and I've had the privilege to go to several cities. San Francisco, Chicago, just to name a couple. They're no different than anywhere else. You have your good parts and you have your bad parts. There's parts that you're going to for sure stay away from, and there's parts that you're going to want to go to. And for years, even friends of mine, we would in college. We were like, man, there's not too much to do downtown Detroit. We would drive the 5 hours to Chicago because Chicago had that area. There's things going on at places you want to be. Now, if I was in college now, I just go down to Detroit because they've got it going on down there, and it's in a positive light. And I love what's going on in that city, my city, Detroit, Michigan. That's what's changed. But what hasn't changed is this. And the OC show is a sports show, and I kind of went on the Detroit, little thing there. But staying with Detroit and the Detroit thing, the thing that has not changed about Detroit is the passion of the fan base. ESPN, ABC showed you what Detroit fans are. 775,000 fans made it out to the draft this past weekend. 775,000, breaking a record for draft attendance. Now, of course, those weren't all Detroiters. Those were not all Detroiters there. But the people working there, the people that organize that, those are Detroiters. The passion that they have for the city and for the teams, that's something that I have seen. That's something that hasn't changed. Detroit is a top 5 sports town. It's a top 5 sports town. And the question that I'm going to ask everybody else here, and we're going to kind of revisit in the next show, what are your top 5 sports towns? Of course, I'm biased. I like to think that I'm pretty objective and I can, look at things in a way that are, I can separate emotion from fact. But the fact of the matter is that Detroit is a top 5 sports town. All of our teams are not always good. I'm going to go for through the major 4 sports right now. And we haven't won a championship in a long time. Now, Red Wings. I'm not as familiar with the Red Wings, and I don't give as much love to the Red Wings. I'll wear a Red Wings hat here and there, but I'm a Red Wings fan. I'm not going to sit here in front and say like I follow them all the time, but when they're good, and I'll watch it. Playoff hockey, I'll say this to everybody watching. Playoff hockey is good stuff. If you're ever flipping through channels and you don't have anything really else to watch, or even you see on the guide, you see a game 7 in a hockey playoff game, you should turn and watch it. Playoff hockey is where it's at. That's what sports is all about. And being from Detroit, and during my college years when the Red Wings were at their peak, at the height of their powers, it was fun being in quote unquote hockey town. I don't really like the name hockey town because I'm not going to get into that, but we were during that time. We were hockey town during that time. People love the Red Wings. They're passionate about that team. And let me go to the next team. I'm going to talk about the Tigers. I was a child back in 1984 when they won the World Series, but they were good in recent years. Back about 10, 15 years ago, they were really good and relevant. They're kind of on the comeback right now, but the passion of that fan base is unquestioned. Even when we're losing 119 games, we still have a passionate fan base. We're going to give them the criticism at all times, but Detroiters and Detroit sports fans are passionate about the Tigers. Then we go to the Pistons. Pistons, I've seen them in the ups and downs. I'm not going to front either. Back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was more of a Bulls fan. I know I was a Bulls fan because I was a kid and I was just trying to be, a little contrary. And I mean, I'm not going to get into Jordan right now and how he's the greatest of all time, but being a fan of Jordan and the Bulls back then was my thing. But you couldn't ignore it. You could not appreciate the Bad Boy Pistons and the passion that the city of Detroit has for the Bad Boy Pistons even now. I can't front and I can't say that I claim that team as my own during that time because I didn't. But I claim the 2004 Pistons and the Going to Work Pistons. Those are my Pistons as well. And the passion of the fan base in the city. Can you see my theme right now? And then last but not least, my Detroit Lions. The one team that in my lifetime, and I've been fortunate enough, and I tell people all the time that we talk about sports, I've seen every one of my teams win. College, I've seen Michigan basketball win, 89. I've seen Michigan football just recently this year win, and also back in 97. I've seen the Red Wings win several times. I've seen the Pistons win. I've seen the Tigers win. Even though I was a little kid, I knew what was going on. Bless you boys, 1984 Tigers. The one team that I have not seen win, and the team that probably has the most passion about it around the whole city of Detroit, is the Detroit Lions. And to see how well they did this season was so encouraging. We're in uncharted territory as Lions fans right now. The Lions are good. What are they going to do this year? How was their draft? They had a draft here. They drafted their first round pick. They drafted a corner out of Alabama, Arnold out of Alabama. Hopefully he can, shore up that secondary. But back to, the premise of what we're talking about here. Lions fans have suffered for years and years and years. And up until this last season, I had seen one playoff win in my entire life. 46 years old, seen one playoff win. Saw two this season, so I'm up to three. I couldn't be more excited about the Detroit Lions, and as passionate as I am about the Lions, as passionate as I am about the Lions, pales in comparison to the passion that city has for the Detroit Lions and all its sports teams, showing you how we showed up. Now, we weren't all 775,000 of those people out there, but we showed up. Not only did we show up in numbers, we showed up in how beautiful the city looked. We showed up in how no major problems that were reported out of the draft. We showed up, Detroit. And I couldn't be more proud to be a Detroiter at this point than I have ever been in my entire life. Not just for the sports loyalty that we have, that I know that we are. We're a top 5 sports city. We are a top 5 sports city. Last weekend proves it. And if you don't know now, if you didn't know before, you know now. We showed up. The people, during the second and third, fourth round, when, guys were going to the guest pickers would come up, they would all say, "Thank you, Detroit. You guys knocked this out of the park. Thank you, Detroit. You guys knocked this out of the park." That's Detroit coming through. That's the Detroit I know. That's the Detroit I'm proud of. All this stuff that you hear about, oh, Detroit's this and that. No, that's what Detroit is. Last weekend is what Detroit is. And I couldn't be more proud to say that I was born in Detroit, that I'm a Detroiter. I live in Virginia now, but I'm a Detroiter. I can't be more proud to say that my girls were born in the city of Detroit. I can't be more proud to say that I have family in Detroit that have been there the whole time. I haven't been there the whole time. Again, I'm not going to front. I've got grandmother, cousins that still live in that city, and they showed up and they showed out. And I couldn't be more proud of that city. Detroit, top 5 sports city. What are your top 5 sports cities? Let me know in the comments. Let me know over TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Let me know what your top 5 sports cities are. Well, let's talk about it. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.